Hey there. It might come as a shock to you, but I don't come up with every bright idea that we put out here on video. And so today is one of those. I'd like to give credit to the person that I got it from, but I'll do that indirectly. I have no way of knowing exactly who the person is, but there's a YouTube video that we saw. It's just fantastic, and it's a pastor doing a wedding, telling this young couple what they're going to have to do to have a great marriage. So today we want to talk to you about 5 things you'll have to do to have a great marriage. Okay? So hey, I'm Mitch.
And I'm Kim at Keeping the Vows, where we're helping people discover and maintain a Christ-like marriage.
That's right. The first thing you're going to have to do if you're going to have a great marriage is that you're going to have to communicate. And communication, every marriage problem starts when you can no longer communicate. Every marriage problem starts when you can no longer communicate, when it breaks down. Do you remember when you were first dating and she gave you the phone number and you called her up and your cell phone battery ran down? For Kim and I, it was a little different. She was going to Purdue and I would call her as often as I could. Back then, for those of you that don't know, you used to have to pay long distance charges. And I would call her all I could, and I'd say, okay, goodbye, and she wouldn't hang up, and I'd say, okay, well, goodbye. So she wouldn't hang up. She goes, well, you say good, and we were 10 minutes trying to even say goodbye, okay? So I wrote her letters every single day, and she wrote me every day, and I called her all that I could afford. But you know what? If it took that much to get Kim to the altar, it's going to take that much and more to keep her heart fresh and strong for me. That's what communication is going to do. And in marriage, there's usually a communicator and a non-communicator. And it's not that I'm the communicator. It's not that Kim doesn't want to communicate. It's just that she just doesn't happen to say much. So one of them says, hey, let's do this. And the other one says, why? Or the other one says, well, I'm not sure if I understand, why we would do that, or let's not do that. So there's usually two opposites in that. And if you might not communicate, and if you don't communicate, then all this Facebook stuff and everything we're putting out there is for naught, because the marriage, isn't going to last. All the good times that we portray aren't going to last if we're not communicating. So that's what we're going to have to do. And we might not always agree on everything, but we will always communicate on everything and try to find a solution to the things that we don't agree on. So communication is the first thing, and it's key.
So true.
Yeah.
Very good.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I thought so, but I wasn't going to say anything. But go ahead.
The first step to a great marriage is communication, and the second step is to budget your plan and plan your budget. Did I say that right?
I think you said it real well.
Okay. So love is great, but it doesn't pay the bills. So
Tough break.
as with communication, in most marriages, people are opposite. So one of you is probably a spender and one of you is probably a saver. We would suggest you let the saver, the frugal person.
Cheap one. Kim said I couldn't say that, but go ahead. I didn't say that.
I said it wasn't politically correct.
Okay.
Anyhow, let the saver have control of the checkbook as far as paying the bills or whatever. I guess that's done online, not with a checkbook, but anyhow, you know what I mean. If you can share a bed, you can share a bank account. So put your money together and work it out. Something else is we're Christians, and so you need to be giving 10% of your money to the Lord. Actually, if you think about it, God's created us and given us everything we have. So it would only make sense that we would want to give back to Him. Mm-hmm. And so you want to give 10% to the Lord. Make sure you invest 10% for the future when you retire, and learn to live on 80% of the money. And the longer you practice that, the easier it will become. Ask God what to do with the rest of the money, and who knows, you might be living on a lesser percent than that and giving more of it away.
That's good. Another thing too is that we can talk to you about finances, but there's people out there that have devoted their whole lives to teaching you about finances. And the one that there's lots of great ones out there, but Dave Ramsey kind of clicks with me. He kind of gets under my skin and aggravates me just enough that I do something about it, motivates me, I guess is the word. So there's lots of good ones out there, but get into something like that in a small group and learn more about finances in that way, and it'll only strengthen your marriage.
Absolutely. And over the course of our 37 years, we've probably taken about 4 different finance classes, so it's not a one and done thing. You do it and you pick up some pointers and you implement them, and then a couple of years later you take a class and you're going to learn and implement new things. So keep brushing up on
Yeah,
it.
Joe Sangle has one. I was broke, but now I'm not. And Chip Ingram has some good things. There's lots of good things out there to learn about how to control your finances. Most Christian money managers are going to tell you the same thing. You just got to find somebody that clicks with you.
Very good.
I thought so. Yeah. Yes.
So we've got communication, we've got budgeting, and then the third one is to avoid third-party intrusions.
Yes.
So, as Mitch said, this was actually a sermon for a wedding, and so he encouraged the family people to, if you love your family, to stay out of their business. And one good point for this is because if Mitch and I are having difficulties and I go telling my family, oh, he did this and that, then my family's going to get a bad opinion of Mitch, and Mitch and I are going to work through it and make up, and I'm going to forgive him, but the family's not going to forget. So don't run and go telling things to your family. Actually, the person you should be talking to is God, because he's the best counselor that there is. So take your problems to him and communicate with him, and he'll let you know what to do.
Yeah, it's good. Hey, if you get to the place where you need counseling, make sure you get good counsel. A good person with a bad marriage will give you bad advice, and so you really don't need that. Find somebody who has a good marriage, and somebody who has a Bible, and somebody that will sit down and keep a confidence with you and help you in that. And if you need more than that, then go to find a counselor too. But Kim's right. Learn first of all to share it with God. And it might sound like, well, God's not there in the room with you. Yeah, when you grow and you get used to it, God is there, and he's a better counselor than anyone else. So we've talked about communication, we've talked about finances, and we've talked about third-party intrusions. And those are three things you want to watch for to have a good marriage. And the next one is avoid infidelity. And we live in a sex-crazed culture where all around us, on TV, they're telling us that the grass is greener on the other side of the fence. And you know what? It's just not. If it seems greener on the other side of the fence, there's a good chance it's AstroTurf. It really is. I was just listening to watching a YouTube video the other day from a reputable person that said, sex is better in a marriage. The people think it's, there's all the publicity that's better outside, but it's not. Actually, sex is better in a marriage than outside. It's just what we tell ourselves about it, okay? And even if the grass does look greener on the other side of the fence, I'll tell you, it has to be watered. Unless it's AstroTurf, it has to be watered. So work at your own relationship instead of going out and finding another. I got to kind of look through some of these things here. The only hands that should touch you intimately are the hands that are holding on to you right now, is what this pastor said at the wedding. He said, men are microwaves, women are crock pots. And he goes, listen to me, groom, there's no deposit, no returns. You have to learn to love her all day long if you expect intimacy at night. And I've always said that. A woman's body is very precious to her, and she doesn't just want to yield it for no reason. A woman needs to know that she's loved, she's accepted, she's cherished, and that you're going to be there for the long haul, that you're going to be there for her, and she has long-term commitment. And those are the things that unlock a woman's heart, and then want to have her give herself to you. And if you don't give a woman those things, and then you expect sex, I tell you, she feels like a prostitute, and it's just wrong. A guy has to learn how to handle a woman's heart. They're just different than us. So you wake up in the morning and you go deposit, deposit, deposit. Fill her love tank, fill her love tank, fill her love tank. All day long you try to do things like that. The other thing too is she's a crock pot, and whatever you put into it, you go away, maybe you go to church or go away early in the morning and you put a bunch of stuff in the crock pot. You come home and it smells so good. Well, whatever, it's because what you put into it was good. And a woman is like that. Whatever you put into it is what you're going to get out. So if you sow things like, you put in things like bitterness and you put her down and you hurt her self-esteem and you don't make her feel loved, that's what you're going to get out of a woman. But if you sow good things in there and you put good things in the crock pot, you put in, love and acceptance, and you cherish her and she knows that there's commitment, then that's what you're going to get back from a woman. So those are some things that a guy needs to know. He actually says to the groom, he says, look at her and say these words: everything I need in a woman is standing here right before me today. From the top of your head to the bottom of your feet, God made you to satisfy me. And today I proudly pronounce I am completely satisfied. And then he tells her to say the same thing back. Look at him and say, everything I need in a man is standing right here before me. From the top of your head to the bottom of your feet, God made you to satisfy me. And today I proudly announce I am completely satisfied. I think it's so true to try to remain satisfied with the one that you have. I'm constantly telling Kim I think she has a good body, that I think she's beautiful, that I'm proud to be with her when I'm out places, that I love her. I'm constantly giving her those praises and lifting her up so that she knows she is enough for me every single day. And the interesting thing is, when I tell her that, it makes her feel like a woman. But when I tell her that, it makes me feel like a man. And sometimes I'll say, I love you. And she'll say, I know you do. You show me every day, all day long. And I'll tell you, that makes me feel successful. That makes me feel like I'm a successful Christian husband, that my wife looks at me and says, oh, I know you love me. You show me all day long in every way. I'm going, yeah, that's a good thing. In 1 Corinthians 7, it says, render unto me due benevolence so that the devil doesn't tempt you. Here's what Paul's saying. What he's saying is, it's hard to eat a snack if you've already had a full meal. So in other words, fulfill each other physically so that you don't really have longings anywhere else. Satisfy each other with kisses, hugs, and touch as married couples should. The irony of our culture is that we're trying to get single people to be celibate, and we're trying to get married people to enjoy it. And enjoy it. Enjoy the physical. Enjoy the sex life that God gave us. Sex was not invented in a dark alley behind a bar. God created it, and it's beautiful between a husband and wife. It was his plan. And so enjoy that. Celebrate that. And he says, now know that you are to enjoy your bedroom. The Bible says it is holy and defiled. It is true. I learned this in the book Sheet Music, and also learned it from one of my professors at college, that sex is a gift from God. And anything that you do with honor and glory, and giving honor and glory to God, is called worship. So if God gave us sex, and if you partake of that and you want to give honor and glory for it, that's actually worship. So there's nothing wrong. As a matter of fact, I think it's right that sometimes before you partake of sex, you thank God. You pray and say, God, thank you for this beautiful gift. And as we partake of this, we just invite you into our relationship, and we just want you to be here, and we want you to know that we thank you for this. We celebrate this. And then partake of that gift. And I know you're thinking, well, I don't want God to know I'm having sex. God already knows you're having sex. It's okay, all right? It's his plan. It's his gift. It's his beauty. It's something that he gave for us for procreation and also for enjoyment. And so God's totally behind sex within a marriage. It's his gift, and it's his promise for us to be united, okay? And so just some things to think about avoid infidelity in your relationship.
Good. So the fifth point is to build everything on Jesus. You know, we're never going to be happy until we're right in our relationship with God. He said to the groom, your task is to make God happy with you as a husband, and if you make God happy, she'll be crazy about you. And that's true. When I see Mitch drawing closer to God, it makes me admire him and feel closer to him. That's true. And to the bride, you'll never make him happy, but when you seek to make God happy, you will be the object of his eye.
I see that. And Kim, what was the book that you read?
Elizabeth George, Wife After God's Own Heart.
Yeah, and as Kim read that, I could just see her blossoming and becoming a beautiful Christian. And I just found myself falling in love with her all over. I found myself admiring her and wanting to be like her and wanting to emulate who she was being. And so as in marriage, you know, everything's in Jesus. I always tell people, when you go to get married, if you feel like you're going out and you're getting married and you're helping this person up, you shouldn't marry that person. I feel as though Kim is helping me up, and she feels as though I am helping her up. And that's a marriage. So Kim went out and read this book, and she just grew. I could see it, and she lifted me up, and then I do something and it lifts her up. If you think you're lifting up your spouse, you're going to marry somebody, your fiance, and you want to lift them up, that's called missionary dating. You don't do that. That's great for the mission field, but that's not who you marry. You don't marry somebody because you feel sorry for them or you're lifting them up, or because, you know, they're a train wreck. That's not why marriage is too important for that. You marry somebody who's your equal, that can lift you up, and together you can each become more and more and more and more. And to me, that's what marriage is.
And we tend to, when we get married, think nothing's going to change. But if you really think about it, that's not true.
Yeah.
Everything changes, you know. Kids grow up, and when we get older, we're going to pass away. But the only thing that doesn't change is Jesus. So hold on to him, and your marriage will last for a lifetime.
Yeah. And it's actually a promise. I have people come to me for marriage counseling, and they'll say, we already called the divorce attorney, you're our last chance. And I'll say, are you committed to Jesus Christ? And they each say yes. And I say, are you committed to your marriage? And they'll say yes. I said, okay, call the divorce counselor or divorce attorney and cancel it, because there's a 100% chance this is going to work. So if you both totally commit to God and you're both totally plugged into a spirit, the spirit can't be divided among itself. Your marriage is not just going to work, it's going to thrive. And I tell people, within a year or two, you're going to have a better marriage than you've ever had. If what you say is true, that you're committed to Jesus Christ and you're committed to each other, you will have a better marriage than you've ever had. And it's so true. So true.
It is very true. Right now, if you're watching our videos, you might think, oh, they got it together. But, early in our marriage, things were pretty rough and not pretty. And, when both of us looked to God and put Him at the center, that's when our marriage started to flourish. So.
Yeah. Even today, I came up here and we are going to shoot some videos, and I told Kim, I'm just in a funk. I just don't feel good. I don't feel like it. And before we started shooting, we both shooting video, not shooting guns at each other. Okay. And anyway, but before we started shooting the video, we both just knelt and we prayed, and we gave it to God, and God's going to make it okay. That's the promise that we have in Him. So we don't have it all together. I'm not always up here in the clouds, neither one of us. Mm-hmm. We don't have it all together, but we always go to Jesus, and that's what it's about. It's build everything on Jesus Christ.
Amen.
That it?
Absolutely. I think so.
Do you do good?
Good.
Okay. I told you earlier that this is an idea I got from somebody else, and actually I saw a video on YouTube, pastor doing a wedding, and so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a link to that at the bottom. It's the closest I can do to give him credit, because I can't find anyone to give it credit to. But we thought the talk was really good. We thought that the things that he had to say were really good advice for people getting married. So, of course, it's good advice for people that are married to run that through again. Mm-hmm. So we thank you so much for tuning in. Appreciate it. If you might keep watching, because we might have an outtake at the end of this. That could happen, And so thanks for watching. Hopefully it's been helpful to you. I know that I can learn from you. Hopefully you can learn something from us. Ask us questions, write us, email us. We'd love to answer your questions, things like that. We'll get those things answered. It keeps us relevant. And hit the like button, hit subscribe. Appreciate it if you could do that. Have a great day.
So the second step to have a great marriage is to budget your plan and plan your budget.
Start over.
Okay.